there is a debate which has been underreported in the political sphere, although I did give a copy of this book to the Foreign Secretary and he was briefly browsing through it, and that is cats versus dogs. Now, we've touched on this on the programme before, and I think the overwhelming consensus, aided and sort of suggested by the presenter, I think, that dogs were clearly better than cats. And now the statistical evidence is there. It comes from Australian author Bradley Trevor Grieve. His book is Why Dogs Are Better Than Cats. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and to see you leading this important campaign.
David Miliband, the Foreign Secretary, I had to tear him away from it to speak to us on important global matters.
I'm not surprised. Just before I left Australia, there was a memorial unveiled dedicated to dogs, explosive detection dogs, who'd passed away in the line of duty in Afghanistan at my old barracks in Holsworthy, home of the 1st Brigade, where I was a young paratrooper many, many years ago. And it speaks loudly of the incredible courage and sacrifice born of genuine and enduring affection between man and beast. And I should point out that no such monument has been planned for cats.
You can get involved in this debate, of course, and it was quite obvious early on this morning that the debate on Twitter has been going on for a while. Lots of cats versus dog stuff happening there. Get involved, though. It's Mayo at bbc.co.uk. The text is 85058. Let battle commence, the other side of the news and sport, which is next on Fiveline. Bradley Trevor Grieve is here to stir the pot a bit. Why Dogs Are Better Than Cats is his book. Fantastic photographs in here, Bradley, which kind of work against your thesis, really, because the cats in here are cute and lovely,
yes,
and equally as gorgeous as the dogs.
That is the challenge. They're undeniably attractive. And it's for that reason that they benefit from something we call supermodel syndrome, whereby we give beautiful creatures far too much credit. In actual fact, there's not a lot going on. Being slim-hipped and snooty is no sign of a high IQ, and if it was, Paris Hilton would be a certified genius. But yet people continue to believe their cats know who they are, they care about them, and so forth. And yet those of us who've actually had dogs and had cats know that the relationship is so profoundly different. There should be no comparison. And as a pet, well, compared to a dog, a cat just doesn't measure up. A little bit like a plush toy with a bad attitude, really.
So why are there so many people who have cats as pets rather than dogs?
Well, it's a genuine concern. One of the reasons I wrote this book is I was shocked to discover that there are now 200 million more pet cats in the world than dogs. 10 million more pet cats and dogs just in the UK alone. And that's startling for a number of reasons. Now, the numbers themselves don't tell the whole story. We know that cats are gifted breeding machines, much like rabbits, mice and Mick Jagger. But there's more than that. What does it say that man's best friend has fallen so far behind? You know, in just a few years, 2 healthy cats and their subsequent offspring can have more than 500,000 little sofa scratches. But there's a profound philosophical question behind this. What does it say about us as a society whereby we would prefer to stuff our homes with antisocial, semi-vegetative fluff balls as opposed to a true animal companion, which is a dog?
Carol Webb from the Cat Protection Society.
Excellent.
Says there is a saying, cats have staff and dogs have masters, which she says proves that cats are a whole lot smarter at getting what they want from life. And there's an element of truth in that, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And a lot of it has to do with the variety of cats. I mean, there's just not many. They all sort of fit in the same sort of silhouette. The truth is there's 30 different breeds of dog for every breed of cat. In fact, more dog breeds have become extinct than cat breeds have ever existed. The point is you can have a dog to suit anybody, large, small, depending on your lifestyle, whatever curious interests or disinterests you have, whereas cats, really, you have to suit the cat itself. So there are cat people and there are dog lovers. They're very different things.
Anna in Ealing on this email, Simon, this is a stupid debate. Well, it might be, but as long as it's entertaining. Tell your guest that cats are the more popular pet, which we've just statistically, that's clearly true. Some people like me, says Anna, prefer cats because they are cleaner, they don't smell, and have intriguing personalities. I like dogs too, but I've always preferred cats. My cats are very affectionate because I have always shown them love and respect, and they reciprocate it. There is no point in comparing them as animals, but as pets, it's a matter of personal choice. I think sensitive intellectuals prefer cats, and thicker people like dogs because they're easier to control, and control is important to people whose ego is dominant. How about that? Sensitive intellectuals prefer cats. Thick people like dogs.
Well, it's a very interesting statement, and it'll go into the pile of a lot of poorly punctuated hate mail that I've received over the last 12 months. But I will say this. There's no argument that in terms of sociability and intelligence, dogs are in a league of their own. We don't even compare them with cats. In fact, a study in Harvard University in 2002 proved that dogs are actually better at intuiting human communication than chimpanzees. So that pretty much sums that up. You don't actually communicate with your cat. It really is supremely ambivalent. Are they attractive? Are they soft and fluffy? All these things are profoundly true. But as a pet, as I said, as a true animal companion, and what do their traits instill in their humans? Largely sedentary types who send in letters like we've just read out. We're talking about a leaning towards a sedentary life, general apathy, and no doubt from the tone of that, a highly contagious and corrosive form of narcissism. We have to embrace this and look in the broader picture and say, which animal do we have a true relationship with and which is a captive critter? Some people would argue that all cats are hostages, and really the owners are just hoping that at some stage Stockholm Syndrome will kick in.
Kate, on this text, Simon, dogs tend to be owned by people who love controlling things. Macho, bossy, army types who snap orders. Cat people are far more reasonable and easygoing. You have a military background yourself, so you already mentioned about the barracks that you
That is true. I am a former paratroop officer, but I don't consider myself a... I like
Are you a macho, bossy army type, then?
I'm certainly a man of impressive dimensions and no doubt a subtle musky odour that inspires respect. I would agree with that, but I wouldn't go so far as to say I was a macho type.
Are they cleaner than dogs?
Not really. That's the illusion. In fact, one of the most... Cats really can't hurt a person other than, perhaps a scratch across the nose and so forth, but they do... talk about toxoplasmosis and spreading of parasites. Remember, their tongue is their bath, and they cover themselves with these things, which is why they're a danger to pregnant women, because they're actually covering themselves in these toxic little parasite spores. So in actual fact, the one thing you should never do is fail to wash your hands after petting a cat. I choose not to associate with creatures that don't bathe regularly. Quite happy to go to the trouble of bathing my dogs.
How did you make that journey from the military to being an author and columnist and so on?
It was a pleasantly unexpected path. I actually developed a lung problem while I was on a joint service exercise in northern Australia in the tropics in the late 90s. And I'm afraid that was that. I was sort of downgraded from what we call CZE, Fit Everywhere, to Combat Zone Exempt, which is not much good as a young paratrooper. And then I decided that having committed myself so wholeheartedly to such a noble pursuit of putting oneself in harm's way, I would be a little bit selfish and invest myself in creative misadventures. And immediately following that, of course, I became a fully fledged member of Australia's oppressed creative underclass, but managed to work my way up as a cartoonist in the newspaper, in the Sydney Morning Herald, which is a broadsheet on the East Coast. And other than a few diversions where I was once cast as Marlon Brando's body double by accident and was a giant red M&M in a confectionery promotion, I managed...
They've got to be career highlights, haven't they?
Well, you'd think so. I will say with the body double thing, I had to wax my chest, and that's a bit like waxing a chimp. There was a lot of screaming, and then it turns out they had the statistics wrong. It wasn't for Marlon Brando, it was for David Thewlis, and I'm about 3 of him, and so there I was, freshly waxed and weeping, and without a job. In fact, it cost me more to wax my chest than the appearance money for going to the casting, and it's moments like that that make you perhaps invest more vigorously in your literary career.
Yes, so the writing is comparatively straightforward, safe and painless.
Generally speaking. Of course, the path to literary success is covered with glittering shards of my dignity, but nonetheless, that is so. And certainly my first book published, the Blue Day book, was my 8th book. I wrote 7 previous books over the 9 years leading up to that, all of which were universally rejected. So it's an endurance sport.
As I mentioned, the photographs in your book, Bradley, are stunning. They're fantastic. And portray dogs and cats equally. So I would invite you, therefore, inspired by that, to say some nice things about cats. Because clearly, I imagine your Australian tongue is in your cheek here.
Yes.
To a large extent, those people take this very seriously.
They do.
Of course, say some nice things about cats. Go on, you know you can.
I can, but I'll need to preempt that by saying that these concerns that I have about the nature of cats as pets are reflected in society. In the last 30 years, the cat population in Great Britain has doubled. In that time, ask yourself what has happened. All manner of inventions and breakthroughs that make life more comfortable and less engaging, from mobile phones and Twitter and all the rest of these things. Marvellous. But do they really bring us closer together? And you look about you with spiralling divorce rates and hate crimes, escalating foreign conflict, the rise of Simon Cowell. All these things, you have to argue, are the cats the cause or the symptom of global decline? That being said, the good things I will say about cats is, if you are someone with a very busy lifestyle, very limited personal space, and God knows the whole planet's been crushed in this great, throbbing, constipated lump of humanity with very little time for our friends on 2 legs or 4, a cat is a good choice, but it's still a pet you have to invest time in. You must celebrate its catness. You must love it in spite of, if not because of, its flaws, because it lives a lot longer than a dog. And therefore, you have to be there for it. And the sad thing is people don't acknowledge the differences. I'm hoping this book will save the lives of millions of cats, because people need to acknowledge the differences and celebrate them. That way we won't have so many millions of Christmas kittens ending up in shelters in January.
Bradley, it's been really good speaking to you, and I appreciate you coming in and deferring to the Foreign Secretary in a very excellent way, which helps us out very much. Thank you very much indeed.
A genuine pleasure.
Bradley Trevor Greaves' book is Why Dogs Are Better Than Cats. I think you kind of got that drift. Bradley, appreciate that. Thank you.